The air outside was warm for early evening. The sky painted soft orange as the sun sank behind the hills surrounding the city of Shizuoka. Inside a small private clinic, tucked in a quiet neighborhood, Dr. Kenji Arai glanced at his watch. 53 years old, and in his 20th year of medical practice, he was still adjusting to the challenges of running his own clinic, which he had opened only a few years before. Business was steady now, though, and the clinic had become familiar to many families nearby. He left one of the examination rooms carrying a small glasses case. Spotting his head nurse at the front desk, he handed it to her. "Takako-san." This was left behind by Mrs. Yamamoto. The nurse, Takako, nodded. "I'll call her right away, sensei," she replied, slipping the case into a drawer. Kenji smiled, then turned toward the waiting area, which was now nearly empty as closing time approached. Only one pair remained, a broad-shouldered man in a pale work shirt and a girl in a red hoodie. The man sat confidently, scrolling on his phone, while the girl fidgeted in her chair, eyes glued to the floor. Recognition came quickly. "Satoshi-san," Dr. Arai called warmly as he walked over. "Satoshi Okabe, isn't it? I didn't know you were stopping by today." The man stood and bowed politely, shaking the doctor's hand. "Yes, doctor. It has been a while. Thank you for seeing us so late." Kenji turned his eyes to the girl. "And this must be your stepdaughter, Hana-chan. I think I've seen you around the neighborhood before, but we haven't spoken properly." Hana nodded slightly but still wouldn't lift her eyes. Kenji smiled kindly. "We'll be with you soon. Please wait a little longer while we finish up." Back in his office, Kenji began organizing the charts from his previous patient. A moment later, Takako entered, her expression a little unsettled as she wiped down the examination table. "Sensei," she said softly, "something doesn't feel right about that man and the girl." Kenji looked up. "What do you mean?" "When I took Hana-chan's vitals, Satoshi-san wouldn't let her speak at all, not even her name. Every answer, he gave it for her. I kept asking Hana directly, but he interrupted again and again." Kenji frowned but tried to sound calm. "I know them. They live only a few houses down from me. Okabe-san can be strict, but maybe that's just how he is." Takako shook her head. "I've seen strict fathers, doctor. This felt different." The girl avoided eye contact the entire time. "She looks frightened." Kenji sighed, then took the chart Takako handed him. His eyes widened when he read it. "Pregnancy symptoms? She's only 14. Takako nodded gravely. "Yes, that's why I'm worried." Kenji adjusted his white coat and straightened in his chair. "Send them in." Moments later, Satoshi guided Hana into the room with a hand firmly on her shoulder. She moved hesitantly, her posture tense. "Thank you for seeing us, doctor," Satoshi said, sitting beside the examination table. "Especially at this hour." "Of course," Kenji replied. "What seems to be the problem?" Satoshi cleared his throat, his tone blunt. "My stepdaughter is pregnant." Even though Kenji had read it in the chart, hearing it spoken so directly sent a pang through him. He turned to Hana. She sat stiffly, staring at her hands in her lap. "I see," Kenji said carefully. "Hana, how have you been feeling?" Before Hana could answer, Satoshi interrupted. "She has morning sickness. She's tired all the time. And now she complains of stomach pain." Kenji's gaze stayed on Hana. "Would you like to answer for yourself?" Hana gave the smallest nod. "And how did this pregnancy happen?" Kenji asked gently. "She has a boyfriend," Satoshi said quickly. "We don't want to discuss him." His tone left no room for further questions. "Doctor, we need this to remain completely confidential. No one can know. Not our neighbors, not anyone." Kenji nodded slowly. "Patient confidentiality is standard. I don't speak of my patients outside this clinic." Satoshi relaxed slightly. "Good, good." Kenji turned back to Hana. "I'd like to perform an ultrasound to check on the baby, to see how far along you are. Is that okay with you?" Hana nodded, still without looking at him. "Takako will help you onto the table," Kenji said. The girl lay back, wincing as if even lying down hurt. Kenji applied the gel, noticing how she flinched at his touch. He moved the probe across her abdomen, studying the monitor carefully. "Hana-chan, you appear to be about 28 weeks pregnant," he said finally. Satoshi's eyes went wide. "That can't be. It hasn't been that long." Kenji looked at him sharply. "Has she been to another doctor before?" "No," Satoshi said flatly. "This is the first time." Kenji shifted the probe again. It's a girl, he said, then frowned. But something is not normal. Her abdomen is too small for 28 weeks. This may be intrauterine growth restriction, meaning the baby isn't growing properly. What does that mean? Satoshi demanded. It can happen for several reasons, Kenji explained. Problems with the placenta, with the mother's health, or with the baby itself. I'm also hearing an irregular heartbeat. Hana needs to go to a hospital right away. She requires specialists and advanced monitoring. Satoshi's face hardened. Why can't you just give her medicine? This isn't something medicine alone can fix, Kenji said firmly. The hospital can check the baby's blood flow and organ development. I can prescribe vitamins and calcium, but that's not enough. Please take her tonight. He quickly wrote a prescription and handed it over. The pharmacy next door is still open. Fill this while Takako helps Hana clean up. She'll join you in a few minutes. Reluctantly, Satoshi left the room. The moment he was gone, Takako gently wiped the gel from Hana's stomach. You're very brave, she whispered. Hana's eyes filled with tears. She kicks when she hears his voice, she murmured. I hate that she likes him. Takako froze. Kenji's head snapped up. Hana-chan, what do you mean by that? He asked carefully. But Hana's face closed off. She said nothing more. Kenji tried to reassure her, though unease tightened his chest. The most important thing now is your health. And the baby's. That's why you need the hospital. He handed her the ultrasound image. Hana stared at it blankly, as if it were only smudges of gray and black. Through the glass panel of the door, Kenji saw Satoshi return from the pharmacy. The moment was gone. Takako helped Hana sit up, and they prepared to leave. Later that night, after closing the clinic, Kenji drove home slowly through the quiet streets. As he passed the Okabe house, he noticed their car parked in the driveway. They didn't go to the hospital, he muttered. At home, he tried to eat dinner, but Hana's words haunted him. She kicks when she hears his voice. I hate that she likes him. He thought back to his years as a doctor. Sometimes, patients revealed truths indirectly through small, cryptic comments. He had learned to pay attention to those moments. Sitting in his office, he opened his laptop and searched social media for any mention of the family. He quickly found Satoshi's profile. Among the list of family members, a name caught his eye. Emi Tanaka. The profile picture showed a woman with features resembling Hana. Clicking through, Kenji noticed something strange. No photos of Hana with her mother for years. Few family pictures at all. If Emi was Hana's mother, why hadn't she been mentioned? Compelled by worry, Kenji typed a message. Ms. Tanaka, I am Dr. Kenji Arai, a physician. I saw your daughter Hana today at my clinic. I wanted to check how the hospital visit is going. Sorry to contact you like this. He hesitated, then pressed send. Hours later, as he prepared for bed, his phone chimed. A message appeared. What hospital visit? Is Hana all right? Then his phone rang a video call from Emi Tanaka. Kenji answered. This is Dr. Arai. Her voice was urgent. Doctor, what do you mean hospital visit? I'm not with Hana. I haven't seen her in 3 years. Satoshi is my ex-husband. He has custody. I'm not allowed near her. Kenji's stomach dropped. Emi-san, Hana is 28 weeks pregnant. The baby's growth is restricted, and the heartbeat irregular. I urged them to go to the hospital immediately. There was silence. Then a choked sob. My daughter? 14 and pregnant? Who? Satoshi told me she has a boyfriend, Kenji said, though doubt twisted his words now. Emi's voice cracked. Please, doctor, watch over her. If she's in danger, call the police. I don't care about the restraining order. That man, he fought so hard for custody. But I always feared something terrible. I'll check on her again, Kenji promised. I'll update you. After ending the call, he sat frozen at his desk, staring at the ultrasound images. Something was terribly wrong. At 10:15 p.m., he pulled on his jacket again and walked toward the Okabe house. The lights were still on. He knocked. The door opened, and to his surprise, Hana stood there. She glanced nervously behind her. Dr. Arai, she whispered. Hana-chan, did you go to the hospital? She shook her head. You need to tell me the truth. Why did you hide your pregnancy for so long? Her lips trembled. She opened her mouth, but before she could speak, a voice boomed from inside. Who is it, Hana? Is that the delivery man? Hurry up! Fear flashed in her eyes. "Please go," she whispered, pushing the door shut. Kenji placed a hand against the door. "Let me help you." "I can't," she said, and the door closed. Moments later, it opened again. Satoshi stood there, annoyance etched on his face. "Doctor, why are you here?" "It's late." "I was concerned," Kenji said evenly. "You told me Hana went to the hospital with her mother." "That isn't true." Satoshi's jaw tightened. "You've been checking up on me. Who I take my daughter to see is my business. As her doctor, her health is my business," Kenji replied firmly. Satoshi glanced toward the neighbors' houses, where curtains twitched at the commotion. His tone suddenly softened. "Let's not disturb the street. Come inside, doctor. We can talk." Kenji hesitated, then stepped inside. The small living room smelled faintly of soy sauce and stale cigarettes. Hana sat on the couch, eyes downcast. "She's fine," Satoshi said quickly. "Pregnant women get tired, right, doctor?" Kenji ignored him. "Hana-chan, how are you feeling?" "She's tired," Satoshi snapped. Kenji turned to him sharply. "The ultrasound showed severe risks. She needs immediate care tonight." "Tomorrow morning," Satoshi said calmly. "Tonight she needs rest." Kenji pressed. "Every hour counts. The baby could be in distress." "The baby won't die overnight," Satoshi cut him off, his words like ice. Kenji was stunned at the callousness. The doorbell rang. "That's our dinner delivery," Satoshi said lightly. "Wait here with Hana." As he left the room, Kenji moved closer to the girl. "Are you okay? Is there something you want to tell me?" Quickly, Hana slipped several folded photographs into his hand, whispering, "More in bedroom." Kenji tucked them into his jacket just as Satoshi returned with a pizza box. "What are you two whispering about?" "She told me she's hungry." Kenji improvised smoothly. "See? I'm a good father. I make sure she eats well," Satoshi said with a cold smile. The conversation ended soon after, Satoshi firmly ushering Kenji out. Back home, Kenji opened the photographs. His blood ran cold. They showed Hana in various states of undress, Satoshi clearly present in the images. "My God," Kenji whispered. Her earlier words struck him with terrifying clarity. "She kicks when she hears his voice. I hate that she likes him." The truth was undeniable. The stepfather wasn't just controlling. He was the abuser. The baby was his. Kenji picked up his phone and dialed 110. "This is Dr. Kenji Arai. I need to report child abuse and endangerment. A 14-year-old girl 28 weeks pregnant. The stepfather is the abuser. They need immediate intervention." The phone line crackled. The calm voice of the dispatcher on the other end. "Shizuoka Police. What is your emergency?" Kenji's hands trembled, but his voice was steady. "This is Dr. Kenji Arai. I am a physician. I have evidence of child abuse. A 14-year-old girl, 28 weeks pregnant. Her stepfather is the abuser. She and the unborn baby need immediate medical attention." The dispatcher's voice grew sharp. "Doctor, are you certain?" "I have photographs," Kenji said firmly. "The girl gave them to me tonight. He is holding her inside his home. Please send officers quickly." "Stay at your residence, doctor. Officers will be dispatched immediately." Kenji hung up, heart pounding. He looked again at the vile photographs spread across his desk, then quickly slid them into an envelope, just in case. He also snapped clear photos with his phone, sending copies to a secure folder. Minutes passed like hours. He paced his living room, staring out the window toward the Okabe house. Its lights still glowed faintly, silhouettes moving inside. At last, the quiet street filled with the flashing lights of police cars. Though the sirens remained silent, 3 unmarked vehicles rolled to a stop. Kenji rushed outside. 6 officers emerged, moving with deliberate caution. One approached him, a middle-aged man in a plain suit. "You're the caller?" the man asked. "Yes, Dr. Arai. I made the report." "I'm Detective Kondo," the officer said, bowing briefly. "Do you have the evidence?" Kenji handed him the envelope. "The girl gave these to me less than an hour ago. She said there are more in the house." Kondo opened the envelope, glanced at one photo. Then his expression darkened. He sealed it again and passed it to another officer who bagged it carefully. "The girl is pregnant?" Kondo asked. "Yes. 28 weeks. The baby's heartbeat is irregular. The mother is malnourished. They must go to the hospital tonight." Kondo nodded grimly. We'll handle it. Please wait here. The officers split into teams, moving silently around the Okabe residence. 2 took positions at the back. Kondo and another officer went to the front door. Kenji watched from the curb, his breath shallow. He could hear his own heart pounding as Detective Kondo knocked loudly. Shizuoka police, please open the door. Silence. He knocked again, louder. This is the police. Open immediately. Still no answer. The officers at the back reported through radios that they saw movement inside but no one coming to the door. After a tense pause, Kondo gave the order, "We're going in." One officer brought forward a heavy battering ram. With 3 forceful blows, the door frame cracked and splintered. The officers surged inside, voices ringing out, "Shizuoka police, stay where you are." Kenji's heart raced. Neighbors stirred, lights flicking on in surrounding houses. Curtains shifted as faces appeared, whispering in confusion. Shouts erupted from inside. Then the sound of boots thundering upstairs. Moments later, another shout from the yard. "On the roof!" Kenji spun toward the house and felt his blood turn cold. Above the garage roof, silhouetted against the night sky, Satoshi Okabe crouched with Hana in his grip. His hand clamped tightly around her wrist, dragging her across the steep tiles. Hana stumbled, clutching her swollen stomach with her free hand. "Stay back!" Satoshi shouted down at the officers below. His voice was wild, trembling with rage. "If you come closer, I'll push her off. We'll die together!" Hana cried out, her voice cracking. "Please help me!" Officers shouted commands, ordering him to let her go. They spread out below, their radios buzzing. Some ran to fetch equipment. Kenji stepped forward despite an officer's hand on his arm. "Okabe-san," he called. "This is madness. Don't do this. The police already have the photographs. They know everything. You can't escape." Satoshi's face twisted in fury. He turned on Hana, spitting words like venom. "You betrayed me, didn't you? You gave him those photos, you worthless little—" Hana whimpered, tears streaking her cheeks. A car screeched to a stop outside the police line. A woman leapt out, her voice raw with panic. "Hana!" Kenji's heart lurched. It was Emi Tanaka. She tried to rush forward, but officers held her back. "That's my daughter," she screamed. "Let me go." On the roof, Hana's head turned toward the sound. Her eyes widened. "Mama? Baby, I'm here," Emi cried, struggling against the officers. "I'm here now." For an instant, hope flickered in Hana's face. But Satoshi yanked her closer to the edge. "You don't deserve her," he snarled at Emi. "You abandoned her. She's mine. Both of them are mine." Kenji's stomach twisted, as he realized he wasn't only speaking of Hana. He meant the unborn baby, too. By now, officers had inflated a large rescue cushion below the roof. Others crept through the attic window, trying to surround Satoshi from behind. "Okabe Satoshi," Detective Kondo shouted through a megaphone. "This is Detective Kondo with Shizuoka Police. Release the girl and surrender. You have no way out." But Satoshi only laughed bitterly. "If I can't have her, no one can." Kenji saw the officers at the attic window preparing to pounce. Satoshi noticed them too. His grip tightened, dragging Hana even closer to the edge. "No!" Hana screamed. "Please, no!" Emi sobbed from below. "Don't hurt her. Please." And then, with terrifying swiftness, Satoshi shoved Hana. Her scream tore through the night as she toppled forward. Kenji's heart stopped, but she landed with a muffled bounce on the inflated cushion below. Officers rushed in, lifting her carefully, shouting for the paramedics. Hana gasped, clutching her stomach, tears streaming down her face. Meanwhile, Satoshi tried to leap the opposite way, aiming for the neighbor's roof. But 2 officers surged from the attic window, tackling him midair. He crashed hard onto the roof tiles, pinned under their weight. His curses echoed as handcuffs clicked into place. Kenji sprinted to Hana as paramedics swarmed around her. "I'm her doctor," he said breathlessly. "Let me check her." He knelt beside her, listening with his stethoscope. The baby's heartbeat was irregular, but present, still strong. "Hana-chan, can you hear me?" Her eyes fluttered open. "Sensei, the baby, is she alive?" Kenji pressed a steady hand on her abdomen. "Yes, she's alive. We'll take you to the hospital to make sure, but you were very brave." Emi broke free from the officer restraining her and rushed forward. Hana! She dropped to her knees beside the stretcher, gripping her daughter's hand. Mom, Hana whispered, voice trembling. I missed you. Emmy kissed her hand, sobbing. I missed you too, baby. I'm never leaving you again. Officers dragged Satoshi toward a police car. His face contorted in rage as he spat at Emmy. This is your fault. You ruined everything. Emmy surged forward, fury in her eyes. You monster! You hurt my daughter, your own stepchild. You're not even human. An officer pulled her back, while others shoved Satoshi roughly into the back of the patrol car. His shouting faded as the door slammed shut. Paramedics quickly stabilized Hana, strapping her to a stretcher. Kenji climbed into the ambulance with her and Emmy. As the vehicle sped through the dark streets, siren wailing, Kenji monitored Hana's vitals. The heartbeat is irregular but strong. The fall didn't cause immediate trauma, but we must treat you both quickly. Hana nodded weakly, her hand never leaving her mother's. At Shizuoka General Hospital, the emergency obstetrics team was already waiting. They wheeled Hana into an examination room, attaching monitors and IVs. Dr. Ayumi Takahashi, a specialist in high-risk pregnancies, introduced herself. 14 years old, 28 weeks, with IUGR and fetal arrhythmia? She confirmed as Kenji gave a rapid summary. Yes, possible malnutrition, long-term stress, and trauma. Also, a fall from a roof, though she landed on an inflatable cushion. Dr. Takahashi nodded briskly. We'll begin steroid injections to accelerate lung development and medication to stabilize the heartbeat. Thank you, Dr. Arai. Dr. Takahashi said firmly. We'll take it from here. Kenji stepped back, watching as the team moved with precision. Nurses adjusted IV lines, another prepared the ultrasound machine, and a technician placed sensors on Hana's belly to monitor the baby's heartbeat. The rhythmic beeping filled the room, irregular but steady enough to bring relief. Emmy hovered by Hana's side, clutching her daughter's hand as if she feared she might vanish again. Tears streamed down her cheeks, but her voice was calm for Hana's sake. I'm here, sweetheart. You're safe now. Kenji exhaled, feeling some of the tension in his body release. For the first time that evening, he allowed himself to believe Hana might actually survive this ordeal. Still, he lingered near the foot of the bed, unwilling to leave until he knew more. Minutes later, Detective Kondo entered the room, accompanied by a woman with a neat bob haircut and a folder under her arm. She bowed respectfully. I'm Suzuki from Child Guidance Center. She introduced herself. I will oversee Hana's protection going forward. Dr. Takahashi glanced at them but continued her work. Please make it brief. The patient is stable, but she needs rest. Kondo nodded. He turned to Kenji. Dr. Arai, we'll need a detailed statement from you soon. But first, I want to thank you. Without your persistence, this girl might not have survived tonight. Kenji bowed slightly. I only followed my duty. She needed help. Kondo's face softened. Most people would have looked away. Suzuki stepped forward gently. Hana-chan, I know this is very hard. You don't have to say much right now, but can you tell us, are you safe here with your mother? Hana squeezed Emmy's hand and gave a small nod. Her voice came out in a whisper. Yes, with Mama. Emmy bent down, pressing her forehead to Hana's. I'll never let him touch you again. Kenji felt a lump in his throat. For years, this mother and daughter had been kept apart. But even with all the lost time, the bond between them was undeniable. Dr. Takahashi adjusted the monitor and addressed Hana. The medication is helping regulate the baby's heartbeat. We'll continue to watch closely. You'll also receive steroid injections to strengthen her lungs, since premature delivery is possible. Hana's eyes widened. Is she? Will she live? Dr. Takahashi softened her tone. The baby is small, much smaller than she should be, but we are doing everything possible. For now, she is fighting. Emmy stroked Hana's hair, whispering encouragement. After ensuring Hana was stable, Dr. Takahashi motioned Kenji, Kondo, and Suzuki out into the corridor. She is malnourished, Dr. Takahashi said, her voice low but firm. Signs of chronic stress, elevated cortisol levels, anemia, vitamin deficiency. She must remain hospitalized until delivery. Discharge would be dangerous. Suzuki nodded. She will not be leaving this hospital until we ensure she is placed in a safe environment. I'll begin the process for protective custody immediately. Kondo's face was grim. We have enough evidence already to hold Satoshi Okabe without bail. Photographs, hidden room, testimony from neighbors, and now Hana's word. He'll face multiple charges, Kenji interjected. Detective, her statement. It will be difficult for her to speak of these things. Please treat her gently. Kondo bowed. We will. Later, in a small consultation room, Emi sat beside Kenji as Detective Kondo began gathering information. Suzuki took notes, her pen scratching softly against paper. Tanaka-san, Kondo said, please explain how custody was given to Okabe. Emi's expression was filled with shame. After the divorce, I was working nights at a pachinko parlor. Money was always short. I made terrible mistakes. I left Hana alone while I gambled. One night, the police caught me. Satoshi used that in court. He looked like a stable man with a good job. They gave him custody. Then he moved here to Shizuoka and kept her from me. I tried so many times to see her, but he fought me with restraining orders. I rebuilt my life, got steady work, saved for a lawyer, but it was always too late. She lowered her head, tears falling. I never imagined he was doing this to her. I thought he was just strict. I thought she was at school. Kenji placed a hand on her shoulder. He isolated her completely. This is not your shame, Tanaka-san. It is his crime. Suzuki nodded. Yes. Abusers create walls. They blame the mother, the system, everyone else. But the responsibility is theirs alone. Emi pressed her lips together, trying to hold back sobs. Kondo shifted his gaze to Kenji. Doctor, tell us exactly what happened today. Kenji recounted it step by step. Hana's first examination, the odd behavior, Satoshi's control, Hana's cryptic statement, the photographs she slipped to him, and the confrontation at the house. As he spoke, Kondo's jaw clenched tighter. Good instincts, doctor, the detective said finally. Most would have looked away. That girl trusted you and you acted. Kenji said nothing. But inside, he felt both humbled and burdened. He hadn't acted out of heroism, only because his conscience wouldn't let him sleep otherwise. Back in Hana's hospital room, Emi sat by her side, feeding her small spoonfuls of rice porridge provided by the staff. Hana ate slowly, as though unused to being cared for. Each bite seemed to soften the stiffness in her body. When Kenji returned to check her vitals, Hana looked up at him with shy gratitude. Sensei, thank you. Kenji smiled gently. You were the brave one, Hana-chan. You gave me the photographs. That saved you. Her lips trembled. I thought maybe you would help. You were right, Kenji said. That night, as the hospital quieted and the rhythmic beeps of machines filled the silence, Hana began to speak. Emi, Kenji, Suzuki, and Detective Kondo listened quietly, giving her space. There was never a boyfriend, she whispered. Her eyes focused on the ceiling, avoiding theirs. It was always him. Since I was 11, he said it was our secret. He told me Mama didn't love me, that no one else would. He locked me in the basement whenever people visited. He said I belonged only to him. Emi's hand tightened around hers, tears falling silently. When I got pregnant, he was angry. He shouted at me. He said he'd make it disappear, but then he changed. He said the baby was ours. He started to talk to her, touch my stomach. When she kicked, he laughed. I hated it. I hated that she reacted to him, but I couldn't stop it. Kenji's chest ached hearing her words. The image of the man smiling at the ultrasound returned to him with a new, sickening clarity. Hana turned her head, eyes finally meeting her mother's. Mama, I thought you forgot me. Emi sobbed openly, cupping her daughter's face. Never, Hana. Not one day. I failed you, but I never stopped loving you. And now I'll never let anyone take you from me again. Suzuki wiped her eyes discreetly. Hana-chan, you've been incredibly brave. Your testimony, along with the evidence, will ensure he cannot harm you again. You are safe now. Detective Kondo nodded. He is in custody. He will be charged with many crimes: sexual assault, incest, child abuse, confinement. He will not leave prison. Hana shivered slightly. But what about the baby? Dr. Takahashi entered just then, checking the monitors. The heartbeat is irregular, but with the medication it's improving. We'll continue steroid injections for her lungs. You must eat and rest. The next weeks will be critical. Hana placed a protective hand over her stomach. Her voice was small but firm. I want to keep her. She didn't ask for this. She's innocent. Emmy's tears fell again, but she nodded firmly. Then we'll raise her together. You, me, and your daughter. She will only know love, nothing else. Kenji felt his eyes sting, but he bowed his head to hide it. Through the night, officers guarded the hospital entrance. Neighbors whispered about the shocking arrest on their street, but inside the hospital room, the world was reduced to the fragile bond between mother and daughter, and the tiny life fighting within Hana's womb. By dawn, Hana had fallen asleep at last, her hand still clutching her mother's. Emmy dozed lightly in the chair beside her. Kenji stood at the foot of the bed for a long while before quietly leaving. In the corridor, Detective Kondo caught up with him. Doctor, we'll need you again later today to give a formal statement, but for now, go home and rest. You've done more than enough. Kenji nodded. Exhaustion finally seeped into his bones, yet peace lingered too. For Hana, the road ahead would be long, but at least she no longer walked it alone. That morning, the first headline appeared online. Shizuoka man, arrested for abusing stepdaughter, girl pregnant at 14. Kenji turned off his phone, unable to read further. For him, this was not just a story in the news. It was a girl's life, fragile but enduring, and a baby whose heartbeat had grown stronger in the night. The morning after the arrest, the neighborhood buzzed with rumors. In Japan, scandals like this rarely stayed quiet, especially when they happened in a quiet residential street where everyone thought they knew one another. By noon, reporters had gathered near the Okabe house, cameras pointed at the yellow police tape that now sealed the front gate. Curious neighbors peeked from their windows, whispering. Inside Shizuoka General Hospital, Hana remained shielded from the outside world. Officers guarded the ward's entrance, ensuring no one unauthorized could enter. Emmy refused to leave her daughter's side, barely sleeping, as she sat in the chair by Hana's bed. Dr. Arai returned mid-morning, carrying a fresh set of patient files. He found Hana awake, sipping miso soup slowly, while Emmy encouraged her. Her pale face had more color now, though dark circles under her eyes told of exhaustion. Good morning, Hana-chan, Kenji said softly. How are you feeling? Hana lowered her spoon. Tired, but better. The pain is less today. That's good, Kenji said, checking her vitals. The baby's heartbeat is still irregular, but more stable than last night. We'll continue careful monitoring. Emmy exhaled in relief, bowing slightly. Arigatou gozaimasu, sensei. Without you. Her voice broke. Kenji shook his head. It was Hana's courage that saved her. A knock came at the door. Detective Kondo entered with Suzuki from the Child Guidance Center. They bowed politely before approaching the bed. Hana-chan, Kondo said gently. I need to tell you what is happening now. Your stepfather has been charged with multiple crimes. He will remain in custody while we build the case. Hana's fingers tightened around her blanket. Will he come here? No, Kondo assured firmly. He cannot reach you. You are safe. The evidence is overwhelming. The photographs, the hidden room in his basement, and your testimony will ensure he is punished, Suzuki added. Hana-chan, when you are ready, we will ask you to tell your story in more detail, but only when you feel strong enough. For now, focus on resting. Hana nodded slightly, her eyes flickering to her mother. Emmy stroked her hair. You don't have to be afraid anymore. That afternoon, Emmy was escorted with Kenji to the police station to give a more formal statement. Hana remained under strict medical observation, accompanied by nurses and Suzuki. At the station, Detective Kondo led them to a private room. Emmy recounted her history again, the divorce, her mistakes, her failed attempts to fight for custody. Tears rolled down her cheeks as she admitted her guilt. I left her alone when she was small. I thought I was doing it for money, for survival. I thought I would get her back soon. But that man took everything. Kenji placed a hand on the table. You came back now. That is what matters. Kondo nodded. We will use this information to strengthen the case. Courts must understand how he manipulated the system to gain full custody. It shows his planning. Meanwhile, investigators combed through the Okabe residence. What they discovered sent shockwaves even through seasoned officers. In the basement, behind a concealed sliding panel, was a small, windowless room. The walls were lined with soundproofing material. A thin futon lay on the floor, surrounded by discarded clothing. On a desk sat cameras, a laptop, and stacks of photographs. Detective Kondo's team cataloged everything. Some photos dated back years Hana as a child, gradually aging into adolescence, each image more disturbing than the last. Videos were stored on hard drives, each carefully labeled. This wasn't impulsive, one officer muttered in disgust. He planned this. He documented everything. Back at the hospital, Suzuki visited Hana in the evening to gently explain. The police found more evidence, enough to ensure he cannot deny his crimes. Hana listened quietly, then whispered, "So, it wasn't all in my head." "No," Suzuki said firmly. "It was real. And now everyone knows. You are not alone anymore." Hana closed her eyes, a single tear sliding down her cheek. Good. As days passed, Hana's condition stabilized slowly. With each meal, her strength returned a little. Nurses praised her for finishing her rice, for drinking milk, for nibbling on vegetables. She began to gain weight, and the color in her cheeks brightened. Every evening, Emmy sat with her daughter, brushing her hair or reading aloud from magazines. They spoke about simple things, at first food Hana liked, memories from before the divorce. Gradually, Hana began to share her own feelings, hesitantly at first, then with growing trust. "Mama, I used to dream you would come back," Hana said one night. "I thought if I waited long enough, you would appear at the door. But then I stopped hoping. I thought you forgot me." Emmy's heart broke anew. "Never. I tried so many times. But he made walls around you. He lied to the court. He lied to everyone. I failed, but I never stopped thinking of you." Hana leaned against her mother's arm. "I believe you now." Kenji, who often checked in during these conversations, saw the fragile bond mending before his eyes. It gave him hope that even after such deep wounds, healing was possible. Outside the hospital, the story spread across Japan. News programs debated how the system had allowed such a tragedy. Commentators criticized the court for granting custody to a man without deeper investigation. Politicians spoke of reforming child protection laws, but inside Hana's hospital room, none of that mattered. What mattered was her recovery, her baby's heartbeat, and the fragile peace of knowing Satoshi could no longer harm her. One morning, Dr. Takahashi delivered news. "The baby's condition is stable enough for now, but we must prepare for the possibility of early delivery. We will continue monitoring closely. If distress worsens, we will act immediately." Hana touched her stomach protectively. "I want her to live. I'll do whatever it takes." "You already are," Dr. Takahashi said kindly. Weeks passed. Hana remained in the hospital, surrounded by nurses, doctors, her mother, and sometimes Kenji, who checked in after finishing at his clinic. The rhythm of her life shifted from fear to cautious routine. One afternoon, Suzuki visited with papers. "Hana-chan, the family court has approved temporary placement with your mother. Once you leave the hospital, you will live together in her apartment. Child Guidance Center will support you both." Hana looked at her mother, her eyes wide. "Mama, is it true?" Emmy nodded, tears spilling. "Yes, Hana, you're coming home with me." For the first time since Kenji had met her, Hana smiled a small, fragile smile, but real. Meanwhile, Satoshi Okabe awaited trial in detention. News reported his cold demeanor, his refusal to admit guilt, but the mountain of evidence was impossible to deny. Prosecutors prepared charges of sexual assault of a minor, incest, child abuse, unlawful confinement, and production of illicit material. Conviction was certain. Detective Kondo updated Kenji one evening. "With the severity of these crimes, he will spend decades in prison. He will never return to this neighborhood." Kenji bowed deeply. That is justice. Yet even with justice, shadows remained. Hana still woke some nights in a sweat, clutching her stomach, whispering fears that the baby would bear some curse because of her origins. Emmy and the nurses comforted her, assuring her that innocence belonged to the child, not shame. Kenji reminded her gently, "The baby is not guilty of anything. She deserves love, and you are already giving it." Hana clung to those words. As the pregnancy entered its 32nd week, Hana grew stronger. The baby's heartbeat, though still irregular, responded well to treatment. Doctors grew cautiously optimistic. One crisp autumn evening, as golden light filtered through the hospital windows, Emmy sat with her daughter again. "Do you have a name for her, Hana?" Hana hesitated, then whispered, "Sakura, because she will bloom after a cold season." Emmy's eyes filled. "Beautiful. Sakura-chan." Kenji, standing nearby, felt warmth spread through him. For the first time, he could imagine Hana's future not defined by pain, but by possibility. Still, the danger wasn't over. Dr. Takahashi reminded them daily. Every day inside the womb matters, but we must be ready. If her condition worsens, we cannot wait. And so, with each dawn, Hana faced both hope and fear. She traced circles on her belly, whispering to the little life within, "Stay strong, Sakura. We'll be together soon." The weeks passed slowly, each day a delicate balance between hope and fear. Hana remained in her hospital bed, her abdomen strapped with monitors, the beeping rhythm of her baby's heartbeat filling the room day and night. Emmy never left her side, sleeping in the visitor's chair with a blanket draped across her shoulders. Dr. Arai visited often, sometimes late at night after his clinic closed, to check on her progress. By the 34th week, the doctors noted that Hana's health was holding steady, though the baby remained small. "We will continue as long as possible," Dr. Takahashi explained one morning. "But if the baby shows signs of distress, we must deliver early. Be prepared." Hana nodded bravely, though her eyes betrayed her fear. That night, she whispered to Emmy, "Mama, what if something happens during delivery? What if I don't make it?" Emmy gripped her hand firmly. "Don't say that. You will live. You are strong. We will both hold Sakura together." Hana smiled faintly at the name. The word, Sakura, had become a quiet beacon in the room, a reminder of the new life waiting just beyond this storm. But one rainy evening, as thunder rolled outside the hospital windows, Hana suddenly gasped. She clutched her stomach. The monitors shrieked irregular patterns. Nurses rushed in, decelerations in the heartbeat. One called out, "Fetal distress." Dr. Takahashi appeared within moments, her face grave. "We cannot wait any longer. We must deliver now." Hana's breathing quickened, fear flashing in her eyes. "Mama." Emmy bent close, stroking her daughter's hair. "I'm here, Hana. I'll be here the whole time. You can do this." Kenji, called urgently from his home, arrived as Hana was wheeled toward the operating room. He pulled on sterile clothing and joined Dr. Takahashi's team. Though he wasn't the lead, his presence steadied Hana. The bright lights of the operating room illuminated every anxious face. Nurses prepared instruments. Dr. Takahashi's voice was calm but firm. "Emergency cesarean. Let's move." Hana trembled, but when the anesthesia began to work, her grip on Emmy's hand loosened. Emmy whispered, "Sleep, my girl. When you wake, Sakura will be here." The surgery began. Kenji watched as the doctors worked swiftly, the atmosphere tense but controlled. Minutes stretched like hours. Then, at last, a sharp cry pierced the air. A tiny baby girl, fragile but fierce, announced her arrival to the world. The nurses quickly moved her to a warmer, checking her vitals. "She's breathing," one nurse said. "Small, but breathing on her own." Emmy burst into tears, covering her mouth. Kenji felt his own throat tighten as relief flooded through him. Dr. Takahashi smiled faintly. "She is very small, only about 1.7 kilograms, but she's strong. She'll need the NICU, but she's fighting." When Hana awoke in recovery, still groggy from anesthesia, Emmy was beside her. In the incubator nearby lay the tiny bundle of life they had all fought for. "She's here," Emmy whispered. "Sakura, she's safe." Hana's eyes filled with tears. "She's beautiful. Mama, she's really here." Kenji stepped forward, checking Hana's vitals gently. "You both made it. You were brave, Hana-chan. Very brave." From that moment, the days in the hospital changed. Hana, though weak, spent hours gazing at the incubator where Sakura slept, tiny hands curling and uncurling. Nurses encouraged her to place her hand inside the incubator to feel her daughter's warmth. The first time she touched Sakura's skin, Hana cried quietly, "She's real. She's mine." Emmy wrapped her arms around her daughter. "Ours. She will grow up knowing only love." Meanwhile, outside the hospital, the trial of Satoshi Okabe began. The courtroom was crowded with reporters. Evidence was overwhelming. Photographs, videos, Hana's testimony, and the hidden basement room. The prosecution painted a clear picture of a man who had manipulated the system, isolated his stepdaughter, and committed crimes for years in secrecy. Satoshi sat in the defendant's chair, his expression cold and defiant. He refused to look at Hana, who testified via video link from the hospital, to spare her the trauma of facing him directly. Her voice trembled as she recounted the abuse, but she did not falter. "He said I belonged to him," she said. "He told me no one else cared. But he was wrong. My mother cared. Dr. Arai cared. Everyone knew the truth in the end." Her testimony shook the courtroom. The verdict came swiftly. Guilty on all counts. Sexual assault of a minor, production of indecent material, unlawful confinement, and child abuse. The judge's voice was stern. "The crimes you committed against a child entrusted to your care are unforgivable. You will spend the remainder of your life in prison." News spread quickly. The community reacted with horror and shame. Neighbors who had once greeted Satoshi on the street now spoke of their unease, their regrets at not seeing the signs. Television commentators called for reforms in family court procedures and child welfare systems. But for Hana, justice was not in headlines. It was in the simple knowledge that he could never touch her again. Weeks later, Sakura grew stronger in the NICU, gaining weight slowly but surely. Nurses celebrated each milestone. The first time she breathed without assistance. The first time she drank milk from a tiny bottle. Finally, the day came when Sakura could leave the incubator. Emi and Hana sat together as the nurse placed the baby into Hana's arms for the first time. Tears streamed down Hana's face. "She's so light, but she feels heavy too, like she's anchoring me here." Emi kissed her daughter's temple. "Because she is your future, and mine too." Kenji, watching quietly, smiled. He had seen many births in his career, but this one felt different. This child carried not just the hope of new life, but the triumph of survival over cruelty. By the time Hana was discharged from the hospital, autumn leaves had begun to fall outside. She left in a wheelchair, Sakura cradled carefully in her arms, Emi pushing gently behind. Cameras waited at the entrance, reporters eager for a glimpse. Police shielded them, guiding them to a waiting car. At Emi's small apartment, a room had already been prepared, a crib with soft blankets, paper cranes hanging from strings, and the faint scent of new tatami mats. Hana sat on her bed, rocking Sakura, while Emi fussed with blankets and bottles. For the first time in years, the girl felt the warmth of a home that was truly hers. Life did not instantly return to normal. Trauma lingered. Hana sometimes woke in the night from nightmares, clutching her daughter protectively. But Emi was always there, holding them both until calm returned. Counseling sessions began, offering Hana space to heal. Suzuki from the Child Guidance Center visited often, ensuring their safety and providing support. One evening, Kenji visited the apartment after work. Sakura was asleep in her crib, her tiny chest rising and falling. Hana and Emi sat on the tatami, sipping tea. "Sensei," Hana said softly, "if you hadn't listened that night, if you hadn't come to the house." Kenji raised a hand gently. "It was you, Hana-chan. You reached out. You trusted me with the photographs. That saved you and Sakura." She looked down at her daughter. "I'll never let her feel what I felt. She will only know love." Kenji nodded. "That is the greatest gift you can give her." As winter approached, the scandal slowly faded from the news. The Okabe house remained empty, a silent reminder of what had happened there. But for Hana and Emi, life was no longer defined by that place. On a crisp December morning, Emi carried Sakura in a soft blanket to the park near their home. Hana walked beside her, still recovering her strength but smiling. They stood beneath a bare cherry tree, its branches stark against the sky. "Next spring, Sakura will bloom," Emi whispered. Hana nodded, stroking her daughter's cheek. "And she will see the flowers. She'll know her name means hope." The road ahead would not be easy. Healing took time, and scars remained. But they had each other now, mother, daughter, and child. A family rebuilt from broken pieces, stronger than before. For Kenji Arai, life at the clinic returned to routine. Yet sometimes, when he looked out his window at the quiet neighborhood, he remembered that night, the fear in Hana's eyes, the weight of the photographs, the scream as she fell. And he remembered too the cry of a newborn, fragile yet fierce. He realized then what he had always known deep down: medicine could heal bodies, but compassion healed lives. And so, while the city of Shizuoka carried on with its quiet rhythms, one small apartment held the sound of new life, tiny breaths, soft cries, and gentle lullabies. A life once stolen had been reclaimed, and a new one had begun. Hana cradled Sakura against her chest, whispering, "You are my strength. Together we will bloom."